You know that feeling where the world just moves around you? Like things happen, big things, flashy things. It feels like the world is moving around you at 100 kilometers an hour and you're just standing there, still, watching it. In the middle of it, history rolls on and you just kinda there and you survive. And then the next thing happens. I think most of us feel that way, and more than we'd like to admit. And I found a character who felt exactly like that. And the author didn't treat it as a flaw to fix. He treated it like the most honest thing I've ever seen. His name is Rincewind. He's a wizard who can do magic, and he is without a question the worst wizard you'll ever see or hear about. And he is the worst wizard in the best way possible. Rincewind first appears in The Color of Magic, the first Discworld novel. He's a failed student at Unseen University, a wizard school in Ankh-Morpork, where he managed to graduate without learning a single spell. Well, he learned one spell, one extremely dangerous spell that accidentally lodged itself in his brain as a student. And because of that big spell, he couldn't fit any other spell in it. He is not brave, he is not clever, he's not destined for greatness. What he is very fast, specifically fast at running away. That's it. That's the character. A coward in a pointy hat who sprints in the opposite direction of danger every single time across 8 books. And here's the thing fantasy never does. He doesn't stop doing that. Across all 8 books, he doesn't have a moment where he finds his courage. He doesn't level up, he doesn't become a hero. But by the last book, he's a professor at the university where he graduated. He got there by doing absolutely nothing heroic. He just survived. Now, the obvious read is that this is a joke. Pratchett is parodying the reluctant hero, the guy who's supposed to discover his destiny but keeps refusing it. And yes, it's funny, but I think there's something more interesting going on. Because here's what I noticed reading through all the Rincewind books. He's not really the protagonist. The world is. Think about what each book is actually about. The Color of Magic and the Light Fantastic, they're really just a grand tour of the disc itself. We're meeting this world for the first time, and Rincewind is just a vehicle. Eric, a parody of the Faust legend, takes Rincewind on a tour of hell and the history of creation. It's a history lesson dressed up as an adventure. Rincewind barely has opinions about any of it, he's just there. He watches it. The Last Continent, which is Pratchett's love letter to Australia, is generally more interesting because of the Australian identity and the mythology than anything that Rincewind does. And lastly, Interesting Times, probably the sharpest of them all. It is set in a fictional version of Imperial China in the middle of a communist revolution. Rincewind stumbles through it. Well, the Silver Horde, a bunch of very old barbarian heroes, actually drive the plot. Rincewind doesn't drive anything, he's a camera. Pratchett needed someone with no attachments, no ambition, no home, so he could drop him anywhere on the disc and have a reason to explore it. Rincewind is what happens where your tour guide is also terrified of everything he's showing you. But here's where it gets more interesting, because Pratchett isn't just sightseeing. Every place Rincewind lands on is a version of something from our world, and by putting in our flat world carried by a giant turtle, Pratchett creates distance. You can suddenly see things you couldn't see before because you were too close to them. In interesting times, there's a revolution. The oppressed masses rise up, heroes arrive, a flag gets planted, and then nothing. Nothing changes for the ordinary people. The peasants are still peasants, the powerful are still powerful. They are just different people now. That's a pretty specific thing to say about revolution, and Pratchett says it's not through a lecture, but through Rincewind, watching what is happening with Malhor and then trying to leave. Or take sorcery, where wizards gain immense power and almost destroy the world. It's about what happens when people who never were supposed to have power suddenly got it and have no idea how to use it responsibly. Or The Last Hero, where Cohen the Barbarian decides to return fire through the gods, because the gods gave it to humanity as a gift, and he thinks it should come with an apology. It's a crazy story, but it's also a story about ungrateful children and the debts we owe them and never repay. Um, Pratchett looks at something that happens in our world and thinks, would this look like if I changed the setting completely? Would you still accept it? Would you think it was normal? And the answer is very often no. There's a moment right at the start of everything, the color of magic, that I keep coming back to. Rincewind falls off the edge of the world. The disc world is a flat disc, and it has an edge. And Rincewind goes over it. He doesn't save himself, he doesn't grab a ledge or discover hidden powers. He just falls. And then he gets picked up by something bigger than him, and the story continues. That's it. That's the whole moment. But think about what Pratchett is telling us. This is the first thing he shows you about his character. The world literally throws him off the world, and he survives not through heroism, just because that's what happens. Things carry you, or they don't, and either way, the world keeps moving. Here's the thing that fantasy gets wrong about people. It assumes we change. The hero's journey is built on transformation. Someone becomes someone else, and they find courage, wisdom, love, or something different at the end of the road, and they are a completely different person from where they started. But most people don't work like that. Most people are fundamentally who they've always been and always will be. They grow a little, they learn things, but at the core of them, the fears, the habits, the way they move through the world, that remains the same. Rincewind is scared in book 1, and he's scared in book 8. He runs in book 1, and he runs in book 8. And I think Pratchett is saying, that's fine. That's okay. You don't need an arc to be worth writing about. You don't need to be the chosen one to matter. The world doesn't need you to be a protagonist. Everything that happens will just happen, with or without you. And somehow, that's the part that gets me. It's not depressing, it's almost freeing. Rincewind is an image of the average person, scared, pushed through the world without much influence on it. History happens to him, not because of him. He notices what the hero ignore, the ordinary people, the peasants still in the field after the revolution, the ones nobody writes stories about. He survives. That's enough. That's all most of us can do. By the end of the story, Rincewind is a professor of cruel and unusual geography at Unseen University. He has a title, he's in office. He did nothing to earn any of it, really. He survived things. He went to places he didn't want to go, and he ran away repeatedly and successfully, and Pratchett gave him a rest. I love that. Because if Rincewind is the average person, then the one who history just happens to, then Pratchett is saying the average person deserves stability, deserves comfort, and deserves a rest. You don't have to keep proving yourself to the universe. The wizard who couldn't do magic ended up teaching at the wizard school, not because he earned it, but just because he kept going. So, what makes Rincewind work isn't that he is a great hero, it's that he's not one, and he never pretends to be. He's a man in a world too big and strange and dangerous to control, just trying to get through it alive. He knows the things. He has opinions about how terrible everything is. He's curious in his way. He just experiences that curiosity while running away at high speed. He's Pratchett's camera. The world is the protagonist, and the world is us. All the empires and revolutions and civilizations and impossible places we built, and then wonder why they fell apart. Rincewind doesn't matter to the history of the disc, but he's the one paying attention to it from the ground level, from where the rest of us are. Everything that happens will just happen, with or without you.